What's next, might you ask? Gloo Cloud. Gloo Cloud is managed Istio across any cloud. It's fully managed, it's first of its kind, Istio Service Mesh as a service. You'll be able to discover, connect, secure, observe, and federate your service traffic across clusters, data centers, clouds, anywhere your workloads might be running, all through a single pane of glass managed by the experts here at Solo. Let's take a look at Gloo Cloud in action. This is Gloo Cloud, the first and only Istio Service Mesh as a service, bringing all the benefits and power of the Istio Service Mesh to all of your clusters, data centers, and clouds through a single pane of glass managed by the experts here at Solo. Gloo Cloud is a fully managed solution for Istio. Let us handle installing, upgrading, and the rest of the Istio lifecycle so that you can focus on building your APIs and delivering value to your users. Gloo Cloud makes operations easy with unified dashboards for traffic management, security, and observability. Gloo Cloud offers a rich suite of security features, including identity, policy, MTLS, Auth-N, Auth-Z, and audit tools, all on top of FIPS-compliant builds of both the Istio control plane and Envoy proxy data plane. Gloo Cloud enables global service load balancing, federated traffic, and access control, regardless of where your workloads are running. Gloo Cloud also supports complex rate limiting, usage plans, and billing use cases, no matter where your services reside. Sign up to get started. Once you're registered, we'll get started provisioning your environment with the Istio Service Mesh and the Gloo Mesh management plane. It'll take a few minutes to get that environment ready, so let's take a look at today's application cluster. Here you'll see that we're running book info and nothing else. There's no Istio D, and those book info pods are not injected with the Istio sidecar. Taking a look at the product page, you'll see the default load balancing rules in place as we round robin through different versions of the review service. In a few moments, we'll leverage Gloo Cloud's managed Istio control plane to affect this policy. With our Gloo Cloud instance all provisioned, we're met with a few new fields on the My Credentials page. Here, we see a one-line meshctl command for registering clusters to the Gloo Cloud control plane. We have a Gloo Cloud kubeconfig so that we can apply API objects to the Gloo Cloud management plane, as well as a certificate and cluster registration token to enable declarative registration of new clusters to the Gloo Cloud management plane. Back in the terminal, let's switch to the kube context provided on the My Credentials page. And from here, let's register our application cluster to Gloo Cloud. This process bootstraps connectivity between the Gloo Cloud cluster and the application cluster, enabling Istio to configure workloads on the app cluster and Gloo Mesh to handle I/O across clusters. Now let's switch back to the application cluster, label the book info namespace for sidecar injection, and bounce all of the book info pods in order to see injection take place. Here we see that the Gloo Mesh component of Gloo Cloud has discovered all of the destinations and workloads corresponding to each book info service. And when we fetch the pods in the book info namespace, we see that they have all been injected. Now let's switch back to that Gloo Cloud cluster. Our permissions on this cluster are limited to those that are needed to manage our services on remote clusters. And what that means we can do is apply a traffic policy to the Gloo Cloud cluster and then have it reflected on the registered application cluster. Here, we create a traffic policy called simple with a simple traffic shift policy. Here, we see that we want to divert 75% of traffic to the V3 review service, 15% to V1, and 10% to V2. Back on the application cluster, let's take a look at the virtual service that's been propagated to the cluster to apply our new routing policy. There we see the same 75, 15, 10 distribution as we specified on our traffic shift. On the product page, After many refreshes, we now see a lot more red reviews v3 than we do black stars or no stars. This indicates that our traffic shift has taken effect. Now let's take a look at the Gloo Cloud dashboard. Once you're logged in, you're met with an overall summary of all of the meshes, destinations, and workloads in your system. You can see their health status, the number that you have, and get a quick bird's eye view of how things are going across all of your clusters. Let's dig a little deeper, starting on the clusters page. Here, we see that we have one registered cluster, remote cluster, and on it, there's just the one service mesh, Gloo Cloud Istio. Istio as a service provided by Solo. Clicking in here, we can see all of the destinations, workloads, and configuration policies that are applied to the remote cluster managed by Gloo Cloud Istio. Let's take a look at that traffic policy we created earlier. Here we have a nice view of the status and affected workloads and destinations by this simple traffic policy. We can also click into the Debug tab to see all the nitty-gritty details of the Istio config that's backing our system. Here we see that same virtual service that configured the Bookinfo app that we observed earlier. This is just a hint of all of the observability and telemetry tools coming to Gloo Cloud and Gloo Mesh. Stay tuned to SoloCon and solo.io to learn more about the features coming to Gloo Cloud.
Well, thank you, Joe, for that demo on Gloo Cloud and the first and only Istio as a service for any cloud. And that concludes our talk. I want to thank you for joining. And I'd like to point you to some of the links where you can learn more about what we're doing here at Solo, including Gloo Cloud and some of the open source communities that we work in, and join our Slack to continue the conversation. So we appreciate you joining this session.